Rajendra Gupta, the Emeritus Chairman of the Trident Group, joining in. Mr. Gupta, thank you so much for your time to us here at NDTV Profit. Pleasure to have you here. You've announced your visionary expansion plan a few days ago with this 2,000 crore investment promise. Why is this a visionary expansion plan? Give us some context before we go further into the conversation.
Hi, good morning. Thank you very much. First of all, let me say that whatever I say, it is more from the vision point of view, not because I'm neither the part of the board, nor the part of a very active management. So, we are looking for a very sensible and a very modernized in our paper plant expansion of capacity, modernization, and also bringing something to do with the sustainability and more productivity and yield. In spinning and towel, both, we had this investment from last many years, and I'll put the context a bit differently. We all know that these days, automating things, making things more modernized, making less dependent on semi-skilled or unskilled people, you really need to ramp up the production with much less lead times, more diversity and more process, and also in a modernization, expansion, and debottlenecking of the existing units what we have, because those are almost 10 to 15 years old, and some needs upgradation of technology, modernization. And in Chandigarh or Mohali, we are building a capacity building center and a complete corporate office because, Mohali is an emerging hub, and to attract talent and to be on a global scale is much more workable than any of the big metros in the country.
Okay, that's great, sir. And I understand that you have at the beginning of this conversation laid out that you will be given vision and direction. Nevertheless, we would like to speak to you a bit about the performance of the company, if that's okay. Because we want to understand what has been the impact on the exports factor. I think the amount of exports as proportion of your revenue has come down. Has there been a direct impact of the India-US trade deal not taking place or the Trump tariffs so far?
Well, you're so right, and it's happening to all of us who are into the similar part of business. I will say the revenue may not be a constraint with this whatever is happening in geopolitical scene, but of course, of course, margins are taking a hit. Margins are taking a hit because selling becomes more competitive. And for that, you have to really work out how to bring most cost optimization and also bring some barriers, how to bring more innovations and more something across the globe. And if you want to shift the new markets, rest of the world or UK or other markets. So the total, even the domestic market is very promising and offers sensibly returns, but supply chain, credit limits, innovations, or the changes are much more required. So we have to really rebuild the organization's capacity to match up the new challenges. And I'm very sure and very confident that if the American trade takes a positive turn soon, it'll be rather a blessings. You've learned a new way of doing business. You have seen new markets, explore new market. By the time you also had a capacity to meet your expectation of the old customers who are large and have major capacity to buy from India.
Mr. Gupta, good morning, Neeraj here. And I wonder if, what would your thoughts be? Because I know you're a veteran of this ecosystem, right? Even if you're not active management. If the trade deal were to get delayed by a few months more, is there a large impact on the job scene within the formalized textile sector in India? Or are options being worked out in a way that, yes, margins may take a bit of a hit, but revenues and production will not take a one?
Well, that will vary from industry to industry, and by
no, but
and
for
large,
the textile industry, Mr. Gupta.
I say from the textile industry also, it's a matter of concern. But most of when we talk to our colleagues and friends, we are willing to take some kind of a hit on the profits, but we're not willing to take the hit on the revenue, and we're also exploring the new markets very aggressively. To my mind, it will emerge into new way of doing things, but may not hurt the revenue and the employment to begin with. And unless, and we are all very confident that the geopolitical scene may take 1 or 2 quarters and not beyond that. But you never knew what happens.
Of course. No, I completely agree. But I'm just trying to understand what are the new markets and newer factors that could open up, Mr. Gupta? Because Indian textile sector has been around for a long time. You would have connections everywhere. Where is it that these newer connections or deeper connections are getting formed up?
Well, I must say the most unexplored sector where, was a domestic market. So the intent or the hard work or the plan work was missing in a domestic market. That offers a continuity, that gives you brand, and that gives you penetration, and that's a quick learning that because you're doing end to end yourself. Domestic market is one of the biggest learning and biggest sustainable effort to be done. Of course, it's going to might be challenging the first 1 or 2, 3 years, and is emerging, growing, and the middle class or the metros are growing fast. And of course, the second market is now Europe, UK, Australia, New Zealand, Canada. They're also growing, but they will not immediately going to compensate the challenges of a very large market of US.
Mr. Gupta, good morning. Hiral on this side. So, compensation in terms of the loss of the US markets, does the India-UK FTA somewhere come into play, and how is that market being explored by Trident right now? And when you're seeing your export as a percentage of revenues, you've said you're going to focus on domestic, so obviously from 57%, it's come down to 52%. To what extent will that mix be feasible from a business perspective, and any increment impact on margins that you see going forward?
To be very honest, margins is going to be impacted. There's no two opinions about that on a short-term basis. But developing a new market with the own brand and complete supply chain and reaching out to 10,000 or 15,000 or 20,000 outlets in India gives a new dimensions, and you can add more products. You can be more aggressive. That's one. There's a new opportunity. Compensating by the FTAs of the European or by UK, yes, there's a very immediate hope for all of us. But yes, I do agree with you. Our share with the US market was very significant. Immediately, we are not losing the revenue share of US. We're only losing the down what you call the profit margins while working in US at the moment.
Okay. And when you talk about the product and market mix as well, what is the strategy when it comes to achieving your vision towards, shifting mainly to high margin value added products as well? And what percentage of your revenues will you see coming in from premiumization, because that's the trend across a lot of categories?
We had planned ourselves that in next maybe 2 years, in a short term, the premium plan must be to our almost 30% of our revenue. And that may be building brand, acquiring brand, making capabilities, competencies, and also having collaborations with some of the those set of people who carries those kinds of niche capabilities and competencies.
Just one question with you, Mr. Gupta, on the new labor codes which have come in. And, we're trying to assess, and we're speaking to companies right now on how they're seeing the impact in terms of costs going up, compliance is going up, and of course, positive for employee welfare. How do you look at it?
I look, one of the most positive thing happened in the country. Very positive thing happened in the company, which is long awaited. It is going to win-win for all, for the industry and for the employees and for the skill. If you don't pay well, there's no skill. And I think, let me put my thought to that, which possibly you have not asked for. It's going to give a lot of savings to the government from their own exchequer. So now those are who are employed, earning, and they were earning informally, but they're not showing on data bank of the government. Now those maybe 10 million people or 20 million people might who's earning these days might come on a data bank. They'll get some kind of social security. They'll get some kind of a certainty in working. We're going to help in terms of bringing more people on the data bank. They're already there. So that can take away some pressure on the government exchequer by way of getting some kind of payouts to them, because they're not shown, income is not known to most of the persons or agencies in the country.
Okay, good thoughts there, and I'm glad for your views. Thank you so much, Rajendra Gupta there of Trident, the Chairman Emeritus, talking about impact of exports, the hope that the India-UK FTA bumps up exports that textile sector has lost because of the Trump tariffs, etc.